Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Thursday, 14 August. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Serbian police have intervened to end a standoff between demonstrators and anti-government protesters. Trump has signed an order to ease commercial spaceflight regulations, and Germany has rejected US censorship claims and human rights report. So firstly, supporters of the ruling Serbian Progressive Party threw flares and firecrackers at anti-government protesters in Novi Sad on Wednesday evening, prompting police to intervene to end the standoff, a major escalation in the 9-month-long anti-government protests in Serbia. Daily protests have occurred nationwide in Serbia following the death of 16 people killed when a roof of a renovated railway station in Novi Sad collapsed last November. This rattled the popularity of the populist president, Alexander Vučić, and his ruling party. So what? This kind of had to end some way, right? The party has some pretty extreme supporters, let's say, within the Serbian community, and it's unsurprising that eventually they came out and essentially tried to get rid of these demonstrations through force, and then quite possibly were supported by police. Once, the situation becomes too violent, police use that as an excuse to step in. It's a pretty common tactic in authoritarian countries and can be seen. It's even accused against organizations such as like the FBI. If you look back at the Capitol Hill insurrection thing that happened in the US, the FBI was accused of having agitators within the group to kind of boil over to give police a reason to intervene. It's quite possible that this is what happened here. And however, it's unlikely that this is going to stop the protests, as they have been pretty consistent and pretty high tempo since the railway collapsed. And it led to a large number of high-level politicians leaving power, and even some charges, which is quite surprising. And next, US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order on Wednesday that he claimed would ease regulations that govern commercial rocket launches. The order directs the US Transportation Secretary to eliminate and expedite environmental reviews for launch licenses given by the Federal Aviation Administration. It also calls for the cancellation of outdated, redundant, or overly restrictive rules of launches and re-entry vehicles, according to a statement released by the White House. So what? It seems highly likely that this is aimed at costing Elon Musk money directly. Since they had their little love affair and then their quite public political fallout, Trump has been looking at ways to kind of get back at Elon Musk, who publicly called him a pedophile, which is pretty fucking wild. From my understanding, NASA conducted a review and concluded that they couldn't get rid of SpaceX and they were far too reliant. So it's quite possible that Trump is easing these regulations in order to build competition and cost Elon Musk money. But he'll never say that. He'll say it's part of making America great again, yada, yada, yada. Same shit, different day. And lastly, human rights such as freedom of expression are under threat in Germany and other European countries, according to a 2024 human rights report by the US State Department. The report, which in his former years has been seen as a reliable point of reference for global human rights advocacy, has been criticized by human rights groups as containing numerous omissions and mischaracterizations to fit the current US administration's political aims. The report follows on from comments made by US Vice President J.D. Vance in February, in which he accused Germany and other European allies of imposing restrictions on free speech and attempting to marginalize far-right parties, including the Alternate for Germany party. His remarks have been described as intrusive by the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. So what? So firstly, this is just rich, right? Coming from the current US administration, who has arrested people for memes and has absolutely done whatever they can to cut down on any form of talk about Donald Trump and his current administration. So that's just the first most insane part of this entire report. Secondly, and more troublingly, this is just further politicization of government departments by the current US administration, who has been removing people and organizations that don't fit their current narrative. People like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who gave poor job numbers, so Trump fired them. Shit like that is just absolutely undermining all credibility in the US, and it's just making them look like a bit of a joke. Sorry for all the US listeners, but this is my opinion. Sorry. Yeah, it's a bit nuts. There are some, like, I don't know, bad things happening in Europe around freedom of speech and stuff like that, but I don't think the US is in any position to start calling them out, as they haven't really shown recently that they are the beacon of freedom. But yeah, thank you for listening to the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.